Hi there, Annica here from Two Forks with as quick as I can possibly make it run through of how we work with restaurants to make sure their menus work as hard as they possibly can for them. Before I start, just a quick run through of why you might want to look at your menu in a 360 way. Number one, you could create happier front of house teams. You could support your kitchen and ops teams. You could help customers have a better time in your restaurants and in the process drive more frequent visits from those customers, and hopefully also get them to leave you rave reviews and recommend you to their friends. You could be achieving higher spends per head and ultimately make a lot more money. In short, we help your menu make a difference to your customer experience, to your teams, and to your bottom line. And you don't have to take our word for that, because we have lots of happy customers, including Tommy here from Oaxaca, who will tell you that this is a good idea. So who are we? The Two Forks are myself, Annica, and my good friend Anna. We started out as restaurant reviewers, but we have retrained as copywriters, which means we are super geeky about words, customer insights, user experience, and that behavioral psychology and persuasion techniques piece that helps us drive action with the words that we write. Our specialities are tone of voice development, which is that work that really helps you connect with your customers. We do 360 menu optimization, which is what I'm talking you through today. And we also like to look at the wider customer journey and how we can improve the experience at all those little touch points along the way, from the first sort of online interaction through to the in-menu experience and the follow-up afterwards. Our clients are an absolutely amazing bunch of people who care about their teams and their customers and the world around them. We're super proud to be able to say that we worked with Dishoom, Hawksmoor, Oaxaca, Rose's Thai Cafe, Tonkotsu, Pizza Pilgrims, Black Rock Restaurant Group, among others, but these are my favorites. I hope I haven't left anyone out. If you go to our website, which is twoforks.co.uk, you can read a little bit more about myself and Anna, and you can also take a peek at our case studies, which at the moment include Dishoom and Oaxaca for the menu process piece. I have a bit of a backlog of others to get up in the new year. Hopefully that will happen. So this is how we do it. I'll just take you quickly through the process. We start with goal setting, internal research, customer research, strategy, implementation, and testing. I'll take you through each of these in turn. So goal setting will be driven by you. We will look at whatever goals you have for your business in the short and the long term, and we'll try to tie the project to that. You might want to look at a financial goal, like driving spend per head or boosting a particular category, perhaps selling more drinks, perhaps selling more sides. You might want to look at the menu user experience from a technical standpoint. You might want to help customers have a better experience in your restaurant with support from the menu. You might want to focus on boosting or amping up the storytelling element of your menu so that you can really connect with your audience. Or you might want to look at from a completely aesthetic way, making the menu sort of look and work better from a design perspective, or a combination of all. Actually, there's 5 there, aren't there? A killer combination of all 5. So the first sort of piece of research is the internal research. We will talk to your back of house teams to make note of any sort of operational issues, any stumbling blocks, perhaps that, there might be menu items like a dish that's particularly time consuming to put together, or a cocktail that's really complicated. Maybe we can identify some things that we can remove to make life a bit easier for your back of house teams. We can also perhaps identify some really winning combinations. So dishes and drinks that are really easy to prepare at the same time and that can go out together and make people really happy. So those kind of things can be really great to pick up from your back of house teams. We also talk to your front of house teams for 2 reasons. First, we want to identify those sort of time wasting, frequently asked questions that they get bombarded with every single day of their life, that perhaps grates on them so much that they want might want to look elsewhere for a job, and we can all do without that at this time in our lives. So trying to find out if there are things that the menu could really support them with, so that they don't have to answer the same questions over and over again. We're also trying to get at that sort of passive customer feedback. You know, when customers write a review or write to you personally in an email, they tend to be customers who've either had a terrible time and they want to complain, or they've had a great time and they can't help themselves from sharing. So it's really hard to get to that middle piece of customers who are just sort of quite happy, have had a sort of everyday experience. So by interviewing the front of house teams, we'll be able to find out you know, what are the dishes that get a really great reaction when they're brought into the table? What are the things that get small complaints that perhaps aren't big enough to write home about or to complain about? So those are the two reasons we talk to the front of house teams. And then the final piece of internal research at your end is we'll look at your sales data, specifically the volume sold and the cash contribution per sale of each individual menu item. And we do this so that we can categorize every single menu item into one of 4 categories. The star dishes that are your superstar, sell really well, and they make you money every single time you sell them. Superstar dishes. Workhorses that sell really, really well, they're super popular, but perhaps don't make you as much per sale as the star dishes. The puzzle dishes or drinks, which are the items that make you higher than average money per sale, but you don't sell very many of them. So we can perhaps apply some persuasion techniques to shift more of those for you. And finally, the dogs, which are the below average sales that don't bring in a large cash contribution per sale, which we could perhaps be considering cutting to make room for boosting those other categories. Next up, we look at customer research. We always do a survey, mostly because we want to talk to as many customers as possible, and surveys is a great way of doing that. Also because it lets us tap into a few other bits of insights that aren't perhaps really closely tied to the menu project, but they give us a greater idea of motivations around why people come to your restaurant, what they like about it. Perhaps we can identify some new categories that you could explore, new ways of marketing yourself. Usually the survey part of the customer research throws up so much amazing inspiration and information that can be used way beyond the menu optimization project. So definitely worth doing that. We also follow the survey up with Zoom calls where we interview some of your more perhaps articulate customers who've given us great survey feedback. We could call them up and explore in greater detail their thoughts around the menu. We might do some role play where we sort of order from the menu with them over Zoom. Something that we haven't been doing much lately because of COVID is sort of in-restaurant research. It also tends to be quite expensive, and we found that the survey and the Zoom combination works quite well. So it might not be necessary, but depending on your particular business goals, we might want to do some observation in the restaurant. We might want to do some intercepts in restaurants where we observe people as they order and then sneak up to their table and ask if it's okay to ask them a couple of questions about how they've ordered and find some insights that way. We might choose to instead go for the more for the less sort of intrusive focus group approach where we invite customers for a dinner, perhaps in your private dining room, and we order from the menu together and explore how they use it that way. But there's always a customer research piece that's super important, and what we kind of pin everything on because that's the thing that matters most. Oh, got a very itchy nose. After the research, we will give you a very thorough research presentation of all of those insights that have come back from the various interviews with your teams and your customers, and also that sales analysis. We'll also give you a summary of all of the opportunities. It tends to be several pages long, all of the things that you could be doing to improve your menu. We also give you our recommended tactics based on those goals that we set at the beginning of what we would do if we were you. And then we leave you with that for a little bit so that you can discuss in-house which of the opportunities you want to focus on. You might want to do all of them, you might want to do some of them, you might want to try a few first and then introduce more. It depends on your goals and your approach, really. Next up, the implementation stage, where we usually will sketch up. I'm by no means a designer, but I do like to get my Sharpies out, and we will sketch up a sort of initial couple of routes, or actually usually 3 routes for where we might go in terms of the design of the menu. So we will usually look at a slight variation of your current menu, so like little tweaks that could make it better. You might, route 2 might be a quite significant evolution of your current menu. And then we usually throw in a wild card, route 3, if you were to throw the rule book out and start again and do menus from scratch. This is what you might want to do. So we'll look at those together. And if you don't have a designer in-house and you want to use an agency or a freelancer, we could make introductions and suggestions, and we'll also help you write the design brief for your agency so that they can sort that out for you. And while design is taking place, we'll get to work on the copy. It might be a light edit of your current menu copy. There might be some rewrites, there might be some new sections, all to apply those sort of persuasion techniques that we have proven time and time again can help you achieve various types of actions, whether that's sales driven or otherwise. We will also, once the copy has been fed into the design documents, we will help you proofread the menu and get it ready to print and bring out into your restaurant. We might also look at some user experience extras, like perhaps a social media account that shows pictures of your food, things that you could do with QR and tabletop materials to support your menu. This is the stage where we look at those sort of extras that might help customers have a better time. And then the final stage of the process is the testing stage. So we will help you put together some hypotheses that we can test during a period of 12 months. We will brief you on how to test this, and we will coach you throughout the process. So we'll do check-ins, usually at the 3 months, 6 months and 12-month stage, where we will test to see whether the hypotheses we set are working. If they are, if we perhaps had applied it to a small selection of dishes, we might roll it on to other dishes. If you want to sort of test in stages, we might find that we're not achieving the results that we expected, so we can tweak at this stage. So as standard, we do these 3 different check-ins, but again, we can suit this to your goal. And then finally, the big question is always, how much is this going to cost you? Menu optimization projects tend to pay for themselves over and over, but obviously you need to have the budgets upfront to try and get the work started. So in terms of what to expect for a typical menu suite of sort of a main core menu, perhaps with a separate drinks menu, a dessert menu, we don't have really set rules of what can be included and what can't. We'll try and accommodate as best as we can. But some menus are obviously much shorter than others, and some could go on for miles. So we have to have a little bit of a sort of caveat there. But what you'll be looking at is a 12 to 16 week process for getting them ready to put into your restaurants for testing. And the sort of price range you're looking at is £10,000 to £12,000, depending on your scope and your goals and your requirements and the length of your menus, all that sort of stuff. This price doesn't include focus groups, and it also doesn't include the graphic design. So maybe you have someone in-house, or maybe we work with an agency, but this is for the strategy part, the coaching you through the process and the testing at the end. And just to sort of reiterate that this is a very collaborative process. We're very open with how we work. We talk about the persuasion techniques that we apply. We share every single piece of what we do along the way, so that you will learn through this process how to do this yourself in further iterations of the menu. So you can kind of look at this as an investment in your ongoing menu optimization, as well as that sort of first boost to all of those goals we talked about at the beginning. If it makes most of these kind of budgets make most sense to restaurant groups, I have to admit. If you're an independent restaurant, do tap me up, because we are thinking about ways of how we might be able to teach this in a group format, where we perhaps get 10 independent restaurateurs together and we all work through this menu process together, and you would have to do a lot of that work yourself, but we're looking at developing something like that. So if that's of interest to you, please tap me up. Also, if you have any questions about this process, how it might fit in with your regular menu updates, when to book us in if you want to get your menus done for, say, April or October next year, just drop me a line. I'm Annica, ANNICA, at 2forks2forks.co.uk. I hope to hear from you. Thank you.